Reform Rupert Lowe, a UK MP, has attacked Labour's inheritance tax programme for farmers harshly, calling it a awful policy in the midst of massive protests in the countryside. The MP called government statistics regarding the effect of the initiative total bullshit, accusing authorities of just splitting statistics without doing enough investigation. In today's video, we'll review his remarks along with the most recent news from throughout the nation, but first, please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and become a part of our rapidly expanding community. Just to let you know, we have a new British brand. Fantastic t-shirts are back in stock at our store. You can get them right now at british.com or by clicking the link in the description. First off, a recent major poll indicates that most British voters now favour deeper connections with the European Union, representing a dramatic change in public opinion since the 2016 referendum. According to the thorough study, 55% of UK participants desire closer ties with the EU. Even many people who voted for Brexit are now in favour of deeper ties with the EU, according to research commissioned by the European Council on Foreign Relations, ECFR. When questioned about diplomatic goals, the YouGov and Data Practice Survey, which gathered 9,278 voters from 6 European countries, is the most comprehensive analysis of UK-EU relations since Brexit. Just 177% of British respondents selected the United States as the primary relationship to foster, compared to 50% who chose Europe. In a further indication of improving ties, the polling data comes as Prime Minister Saki Starmer gets ready for a major diplomatic meeting with EU officials. Starmer will meet with EU Council leader Antonio Costa to restart the relationship between Britain and the bloc. Reform UKM Rupert Lowe fumed to Live TV. The Labour leader has agreed to meet with all 27 EU leaders in Brussels on February 3. I believe that the government's figure is entirely incorrect, and they just use it as they do with the £22 billion black hole they created, but they don't do any research on it. I'm afraid that our government doesn't do any research. Instead, they just try to make what they're saying fit what they're doing, and I don't need a calculator to figure out that what they're saying is complete nonsense. It's even worse because Steve Reid repeatedly stated before the election that there would be no changes to agricultural property relief, and he resigned on that. I believe that the government is squandering money everywhere to undermine the foundation of Britain with small businesses and farms, but workers seem to be trying their hardest to annoy everyone. They have irritated the elderly, and an extraordinary policy is hurting the private schools, which were once one of our best exports. In the end, I believe this will cost the government money. To protest Labour's proposed reforms to the inheritance tax for agricultural firms, hundreds of farmers rallied in Westminster yesterday. In Labour's autumn budget, inheritance tax would be extended to agricultural land with a rate set at 20% and a 50% relief available. Currently, the first £325,000 of an estate is exempt from inheritance tax, with amounts above that taxed at 40%. The demonstration coincided with the Prime Minister's questions as tractors lined up along Whitehall starting at 10 a.m. Farmers are protesting against what they call toxic budget changes, including revisions to inheritance taxes and an accelerated removal of EU-origin subsidies, claiming they are suffering because of a system that the wealthiest use to avoid paying inheritance tax altogether. Despite the objections, the government has insisted that it would not alter its inheritance tax policy. Environment Secretary Steve Reid highlighted the government's steadfast support for farmers. What do you think of this? In other news, a Kidderminster resident was left in complete shock when his insurance company refused to pay for storm damage because the wind speed was 2 miles per hour too slow to qualify as an official storm. Reid claims that the government has allotted $5 billion to the farming budget over 2 years, including more funding than ever before for sustainable food production. Dennis Insurance Company refused to compensate him after Storm Dara destroyed his property last week, claiming that the weather event did not qualify as a storm because wind speeds in Kidderminster only reached 53 miles per hour instead of the necessary 55 miles per hour level. The director of AGA's allegation, Stephen Linklater, stated that even though Mr. IL's claim did not fit the conventional definition of a storm, we examined each instance separately and requested more data in order to evaluate Mr. IL's case. Now that we have this evidence, we have decided to pay Mr. IFF's claim. After having to rebuild his aerial and fix his chimney due to storm damage, ILF has been left £500 out of pocket. They claimed the gust was only 53 miles per hour and that 55 miles per hour is required for a storm to be declared. He told the BBC that the damage wasn't limited to IL's property, as several of his neighbours also experienced damage to their homes during the severe weather. Aerials were destroyed, brickwork was damaged, roof tiles were blown off, and one resident's greenhouse windows were blown out. At least one of IL's neighbors has also experienced issues with insurance claims. According to the Association of British Insurers, ABI, a storm is legally defined as a period of intense weather with nationwide wind speeds of at least 48 knots and 55 miles per hour. The storm caused significant damage, and during the weather event, Birmingham City Council received 200-642 emergency calls. Firefighters from 38 stations in the West Midlands responded to 122 weather-related incidents between 6 a.m. on Saturday and 10 a.m. on Sunday, with thousands of houses losing power in rural areas. ILF acknowledged that insurers might be leery of people using storms as a pretext to claim on pre-existing damage, but he expressed his displeasure with the insurance system, stating that even if you pay for insurance, you think you're covered, but when it comes time to make a claim, they don't want to pay. What on earth are you covered for? He wondered. If you have a fire, does the fire have to be a certain temperature? He questioned the reasoning behind such specific criteria. The incident has been compared to divine intervention, which insurance companies typically cite as circumstances they will not pay for. Please share your ideas in the comments section below regarding the topics we covered in today's video. We started this channel just over 4 months ago with the intention of showing the British public the real stories from all over the country while calling out the BS the MSN try to shove down our throats. I want to quickly thank everyone for their recent support on the channel. We are growing really quickly and are now getting closer to our goal of 200,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, please make sure to like this video. From everyone at British Stand, thank you. For more British stuff, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and goodbye.